I went to prison, and eventually I ended up losing my family home. The reason why that happened is because with the POCA Act, Proceeds of Crime Act, they look at all of your assets, they calculate what they believed you've earned from your illegal, ill-gotten gains activity, and they create a figure, and then you have to pay that figure back. My brethren got two kids, yeah? 2 kids. He went inside 2 months after they were born, got his 18-year sentence.
Oh.
Is that worth it? Nah. Is that the kind of, what reward is worth that?
Nah.
What reward is worth that?
So, right now we're in Northolt Hills on a very booky road. I know there must be some sort of significance as to why we're on this road, so tell me, why are we here today?
Yeah, cool. So I brought you on this road today, Aaron, because for me, this was the end of a long career on the roads.
Okay.
This road here is where the police, they observed me.
Okay.
2 times in the space of a week, going to collect some cocaine from the courier, which eventually led on to my house getting raided and me going to prison. So this is a real significant area for me, because perhaps if that didn't happen, then I might not be here today. There's a good chance I'll still be on the roads, in jail, or even worse, dead. So yeah, this was like a turning point for me on this road here.
So you said you were under Obo on this road. You never had any type of sign, never had any type of sixth sense, or even maybe like a little observation as to, is that somebody watching me or following me? You never had anything like that?
No, nothing at all. Nothing at all. And like I said, they only observed me for a week. 1 week, 2 pickups, and then that was it. That was enough, yeah. Yeah, I got caught up in someone else's observation. That's what it was.
I see. What do you think gives you the confidence at the time to like just be able to keep coming to this location here and keep business going? What gave you that confidence to carry on at that time?
Sorry, what gave me the confidence?
Yeah, what allowed you to have confidence to be able to be on this road so regularly at that time, making the pickups without any real fear or worry about what could be happening?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. But I mean, when you're on the roads, these are the risks that you take. You know, if you need to collect product, then you have to do it somewhere. And a lot of trappers do it on a road like this. It's a relatively quiet road.
Is it because things were going so well up until that point, like it was just happening seamlessly, that you felt to yourself, do you know what, my operation's smooth, I'm moving correctly? Is that what gave you that confidence to not worry that something like that would have happened?
I think you're right, because like I said, I had a long career with absolutely no police involvement. So you're right, there probably was a lot of complacency that crept in there.
So the feds observed you.
Yeah.
They then had enough to build a case on you.
Yep.
Tell me the process from there.
The process from there, okay, cool. So from the observation, they obviously felt like they had enough information. They came and raided my house, which is not far from here, kicked off the door. When they came through, I must admit, again, that complacency, they found a few little things in there that they weren't supposed to. Nowhere near like what I was dealing with at the time, but it was enough for them to say, okay, this guy is involved in something.
Yeah.
And then there was quite a few other people involved in the case as well.
Okay.
The lady that I collected the drugs from, she actually turned out to be a snitch, and she had ratted on everyone, told them everything that had happened.
Yikes.
A lot of people got sent down off the back of it, and I was one of them.
And I guess those are the things that you didn't expect to happen at the time. You didn't expect someone that you were working so closely with to end up, I guess, turning their back on you, so to speak.
No, you don't. You definitely don't, but it's part of the game. That is something that can happen. You never expect it to happen to you, someone that's essentially maybe part of the team. Nah, but it can happen.
Feds have come in, they've taken what you had.
Yep.
Tell me about that. Did they take everything? Was anything given back? Was anything left? How did that go?
Yeah. So when they came in, they found some drugs or whatever. So obviously they took that. did they give anything back? Yeah, but that's a crazy story actually. So after my prison sentence, I had to go back to the police station, yeah, to collect everything. That's after I've come home. Walked into the station, and they've given me back a coat and my phones, and like all the phones that I was using for trapping, plus like another bag with it that had the scales in that I was using to trap, and there was some drugs in the jacket as well. They've actually given that back to me
So they never
after
searched
I've
the
been
jacket?
inside. I don't know, man.
That's insane.
It's
So you're telling
insane,
me a jacket
yeah.
was given back to you that still had food in the jacket?
Yeah. After I've done my sentence, I've come home now. I've turned the corner. I've transitioned. I'm living a straight life, and they've given me all of these things back. And I've heard from other people that they've also been in the same situation.
So rather than it being lackadaisical efforts and policing on their behalf, you think it could be some sort of self-sabotage that they were trying to push you back into?
Potentially, yeah.
That's interesting.
Potentially, yeah.
You spoke about coming out, cleaning up your life, going
Yeah.
on a straight and narrow.
Yeah.
Tell me about the transition from coming out of jail for drug offences to transitioning into business and a legal way of living.
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. So my transition actually started before I went into prison.
Okay.
Yeah, I was always aware that this thing's not going to last forever. I'm going to need to do something else. So I had set up a business already. I set up a cleaning company, window cleaning business. But it was still running adjacent to my other career,
Okay.
my trapping. And then when I went to prison, the business was, I don't know, let's say it's at 40%. So it's running, it's not making a full income. But I was fortunate because I had a business partner who carried that business on while I was inside.
That's very good.
Yeah. So I was actually on bail for like 17 months before I went to prison.
Wow.
So during that time, I just dropped everything. I was like, no more trapping, and we built it up.
That's good,
We got
smart.
to a decent part.
I think that's a very important part of your story. I think it's something for people to actually listen to and realise as well, is that have an alternative plan. Like, I'm not saying for anybody to be in a life of crime or trapping, but you know, unfortunately things happen in life. Some people find themselves in certain lifestyles, you know. I'm not judging anybody. But if you do find yourself in a certain lifestyle, think about your exit strategy. Think about an alternative plan. Think about maybe something you can go into to leave that behind. Because 100%. Nobody can stay inside a criminal life forever. It's impossible. 100%. You know what I mean? There might be one or two examples that people glorify, you know what I mean? But nothing really ever tends to end well, you know what I mean? But I want to get deeper into how I know you and who you are. So if I'm to reflect back on how we know each other, it's many, many years. It's so many years, in fact, that I remember a memory of when my career first started happening as a presenter. I remember being at an industry party with you. I can't remember if I invited you or if you were just there anyway off the strength of your own network. And I remember you just being lit, life being lit, everything was just good. Nothing was, you kept offering me drinks. Them time that I was on my transition to Islam, so I think I might have said yes, or I might have kind of called it a day after a certain while. But I just remember you being full of life, full of energy, full of litness, swaggy, like just really enjoying and living life. But since then, I've got to know you more, and I've realized that there is so much more depth to you than the person who I initially met, or the person that I initially knew when we were out on the town, when my career was starting to build, and when you were having a career as well. You were building a clothing brand. So my question off the back of that is, tell me who Andre is. Let's go to the beginning. Let's go to wherever you want to start. Who is Andre as a person, if you were to define who you are as a person? Because I feel like you're multifaceted. You know what I mean? I've known many versions of you.
That's true.
So who is Andre?
Good question. So I'm just going to go back to that point. So I'm pretty sure that was like a SBTV.
Yep.
Rest in peace, Jamal, of course.
100% rest in peace,
SBTV after party.
Yes, it was.
Christmas party, actually.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So at that point, I was doing very well in my career on the road. Everything was good. Money was more than abundant.
Yeah.
But even at that time, as you said, I had a clothing label.
Yep.
And that clothing label, My Hood, was all about uplifting people from the community, my hood, being proud of where you're coming from, but not allowing that to limit where you can go to. So I think even throughout all of the badness that I was doing, my mission has always been to uplift people from a similar background as me. I've always wanted people to elevate themselves, not to be limited by where they've come from or mindsets or their environment. I think that's a big part of me. The problem was at that time, I was preaching a message, but living kind of contradictory to the message that I was sending out. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm telling people, get out of your hood, but I didn't really care how you was doing it at that point. So I think where I'm at now, I'm still fulfilling like the same purpose, but I'm doing it from a righteous place, from a pure place, from a clean place, because I'm living a life that is clean. Do you know what I'm saying?
But I think one thing that you need to really realize is that even though you feel like maybe there were shortcomings in the way that you were trying to get across the message and live your life, I think the fundamental of who you are has always been there. That's something that I realize now. So it's like, obviously right now you're really trying to tell people, look, do not waste your time or waste your freedom. But I think the fundamental of who you are in terms of being very socially conscious, people supportive, so to speak, in how your ethos was always there. Because even in terms of how you came in contact with me, you didn't come in contact with me because you wanted something. You came in contact with me because you saw that I was doing something and you were trying to support that. You know what I mean? You were trying to say, and I think you maybe from meeting me, you also realized that I'm from a similar place to where you're from. But fortunately, I tried to pivot left and right. I'm not gonna stand here and say that I completely pivoted. I was still around certain things. I was still even doing certain things. People don't even know that I was still even doing certain things. When my career, because bro, like at the time, that media industry wasn't paying much money. It wasn't paying any money when I started. Like all these guys that are online now, big yourselves up, because you lot have managed to step into an industry that once you gain popularity or gain a certain position, you walk straight into money. But when I started, there was no money in it. People don't even know. Big up my brother Jamal. When I first started SBTV, I was doing it for free.
Okay,
People don't even know that.
Yeah.
People don't even know that. And that's off the strength of who Jamal is and who the brand was and what we were trying to build. So what I'm saying is, to get back to you, is that I think the fundamental of who you are was always there. And I think that's something that you shouldn't suppress. I think maybe because you went through so much, sometimes maybe you think I was a bad person, but you weren't. You were a good person. But you were just making the alternative moves that you had to get yourself to a certain place. And maybe your story was meant to be how it was.
True.
For you to learn. So, let's move on. You were doing very well. I could tell because, like I said, when me and you were together, it was always lit. Nothing was too much. I know you don't want to smile about it, but it's great memories for me because I remember thinking to myself, this brother I want to be like this brother when I grow up. Them time they were at the same age. But anyway, move forward, yeah? Let's move into what you did with the money that you were making. Let's talk about purchasing a property or properties. Was that a journey that you took on?
Yeah, that was a journey that I took on. So at about the age of 22, 23, making a lot of money, I was living at my mum's house. She'd probably seeing me coming in on a weekly basis with Selfridges bags, Harvey Nicks bags, different cars, just squandering the money.
Yeah.
So I got into my bedroom one time and there was just a book on the bed. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So how did that get there? I asked mum. She's like, oh yeah, I think your cousin dropped it. Just read it. Read the book, and that completely changed my mindset. In this book, it talks about like managing assets, the difference between an asset and a liability, investing in assets, and that was all foreign to me. Do you know what I mean? It was all money, girls, clubs, spending. So as soon as I read that book, I was like, do you know what, bro? I need to do something with this money. I need to put it somewhere proper that's gonna, be able to help me to get out of this lifestyle and also build some wealth. So I started stacking and eventually invested in a few properties, man.
Sick.
Yeah, which I was also working at the time, so
Yeah. So you were able to. I was going to ask you that because, I'm not a stranger to road life.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I would say, unfortunately, I even have proximity to it now in terms of people who are around me, people I have in my life.
Yeah.
So I know how difficult it is to live a life where you're trying to make legal purchases like property and pay bills with illegal money. So how did you make it possible that you were able to invest into these properties?
Yeah, so just for the record, like all of my property investments, it came from, you know, my legal side of things.
Okay,
So
well, there you go.
that always,
Yeah, which is why it's important to have that side,
of
or that
course.
second hustle.
Yeah. So again, so this is really important as well, and this is part of the reason why I'm doing this project. I think it's really important for us, even if we're on the roads, to have mentors and guidance that guides us in the right direction, yeah? So I was fortunate that one of my oldest brother that I was getting food from, he was very business minded, and he introduced me to like property development and having legal hustles, you know, to support whatever you're doing. So I ended up getting into mortgages. He encouraged me to go and do something called a CMAP, which is the course that you do to become a mortgage broker. I did that when I was about 20, 25, 26, and it allowed me to like start working in places that they were foreign to me, man.
Mm-hmm.
Banks, estate agents, corporate settings. I had a mortgage broker job with RBS.
That's
and
amazing. That's a massive bag.
And that allowed me to, you know, to build some funds in the bank, if you like, as well.
Sick.
To then go on and invest in property.
Yeah, because I only ask because I know that when it comes to criminal investigation, there's something called POCA. Yeah,
That's right.
The Proceeds of Criminal Act, and that was made in 2002 by the police. That if they feel as though there were financial gains that were made via illegal means, they have the right to take those things away. So with that POCA Act, were you affected in any way by that?
Yeah, I was. So of course I got my sentence. I went to prison, and eventually I ended up losing my family home. The reason why that happened is because with the POCA Act, Proceeds of Crime Act, they look at all of your assets, they calculate what they believed you've earned from your illegal, ill-gotten gains activity, and they create a figure, and then you have to pay that figure back. The onus is on you to prove that the funds or the investment or the asset didn't come from where they said that it came from, and I was unable to do that. In a lot of cases, you actually have to do that while you're in prison as well.
Wow.
Which is a madness because your hands
Without
are
legal
tied.
counsel as well.
You have legal counsel, but you know, still on you to prove, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the money didn't come from here.
Wow. So the family home you lost, is that the only thing that you lost in regards, or was there other possessions and stuff?
Yeah, so I lost some watches, cars, or a car.
Yeah. That's hard. That's hard. I think, like I was saying, you know, I'm not saying that all criminal lives end up in pain and hurt. You know, there are some people who maybe have been lucky enough to transition before they were caught for certain crimes. But I think one thing that we don't speak about enough, and I use the Scarface movie as an example. Like in the hood, we all love Scarface. The amount of man that I knew had Scarface posters in their room is unbelievable. But then when you think about Scarface, do we not remember the end of the film? And the reason I bring that up as a comparison is that you going through losing some of the things that, you know, even though now on reflection, you know, it was illegally gained, but at the time it was probably hard earned through taking chances, risking your life and the rest of it. It must have been very hard for you, not only to now be sentenced in jail, but to know that you're losing things that you, I guess, held so close to you in terms of possessions, especially your family home where your children live in. So what can you say about that, and why do you think we don't focus enough on these painful endings to stories like this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, for one, I don't think that there's enough information out there. Like I guarantee you there's a lot of young men on the road now that probably don't even know what POCA is. And they more than likely don't know the ins and outs of it. So my understanding of POCA before going through it was that, okay, cool, it's only if you've put, let's say, 100 racks or whatever into a house, then they can take it back. But they can actually take it back even if it came from a legal funding source.
And you said also they work out a figure and then you have to pay it back. So in that case, is there certain situations where there might be funds in your account that they can take out of your account?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they could freeze your account. They could freeze your account, or.
And those funds go where?
As in when they take the funds back.
Yeah, where do those funds go?
For Her Majesty. Yeah,
Interesting.
Her Majesty.
Interesting. And I think one thing as well that we learn to do in the time of pain, the time of hurt, in the time of struggle, in the time of incarceration as well, is pray, prayer. But I know that you're a man that wasn't averse to praying even before finding yourself incarcerated. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know before you were raided by the police, you did take to your knees to say a prayer. Tell me about that and where your mind was at that time.
Yeah, so I had tried to transition previously. Yeah, I think it was 2011. I lost my grandmother, and there was a lot going on. One of my connects, my plugs, this guy was squeaky clean.
Yeah.
In terms of, I'd never seen anyone trap like him.
Yeah.
Had a little moped, had a full-time job.
Oh wow.
You never suspect this guy. And he ended up going to jail because someone snitched on him.
Wow.
So that just kind of got my mind thinking. I said, no one's safe in this thing.
Yeah.
So I decided to stop trapping at that point. Came out of it for a little while, and then fell back into it again. So at this point, before getting raided, I was going through those feelings again of like, do you know what, I need to get out of this.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with one of my friends who had sort of come out of trapping about a year before. And he was like, right, Dre, you're still doing that. You need to make this transition. But it's so hard to leave, bro.
Yeah.
That's why they call it a trap,
yeah.
because it is so hard to leave.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? You built this lifestyle, you're used to the money,
Yeah.
all of these things that come along with it.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I don't know how I'm gonna get out of this. So I was in my son's room, I think, and I took to my knees and I was like, I know people might not be religious or whatever or believe in God, but I just asked God, I said, God, man, you need to get me out of this. No matter what it is, I don't care how you do it, just get me out of this. I don't want to live this life no more. That's how much of a hold this thing had on me. It was quite overwhelming. Tears started flowing down my
100%, I
face,
can imagine.
everything. It was a
Yeah.
proper like out-of-body experience. And bear in mind, I've been on the roads for 18 years. Nothing had ever happened to me. No brushes with the law or anything. 3 days later, the raid happens, and that was the beginning of the end of it. So some might say that was a answer from the man
God's
upstairs,
way.
or maybe not. Maybe it was just coincidence.
I mean, see, when it comes to things like this, yeah, especially if you are religious, some people see, I guess, the lifestyle you're living before as a sin. Do you feel like through spending your time in Her Majesty's, do you feel like you've kind of, in a way, repented for your sin? You've served your time. You've kind of done what you need to do as a repentance to kind of pay that sin, and now you have a fresh start. Do you feel like that personally?
I don't know. I don't know if going to prison, if you believe in God, then only God can answer that. What I did realize in prison is how sinful what I was doing was. Because I began to see and to look at the actual impact that it had on people humans, people that I was selling to. So for example, in open conditions, there's a lot of people that are not really in there for serious offences. There's people that are in there for things like domestic violence, I don't know, death by dangerous driving, death while driving under the influence, fraud, And a lot of these people have done these things because they were either under the influence of drugs or they were trying to make up for drug debts. Like there's a lot of men in there that have done fraud in order to pay off like big debts that they've got. Or the death by dangerous driving, people are on sniffing or whatever, they lick someone down, and you start to see like how this affects people's families, not just the person that committed the offence, but their family, the families of the victims. It's like a big spiral, a big domino effect of people that you're impacting on. And we don't look at these things. I think when we're out there and we're on the road, we're desensitized to it. We lie to ourselves. One of the things I always used to tell myself as a shotter is that, well, boy, do you know what? If I don't go and hit that shot, then someone else is going to do it.
This is exactly
someone's got to do that.
That's what I'm going to say
so
to you.
it might as well be me. But the problem is with that is it is me. It's me that done it. It's me that's giving that person that thing. And there's karma that comes with that. There's karma that comes with that. And if you do it and you step into those shoes, then you have to bear the karma that comes with it.
Well, listen, I can so closely personally relate to what you're saying, because I remember when I was around it, we were selling hard.
Yeah.
And as you probably know, with hard, the kind of custom and customer base is visibly ruined. Yeah, you can see it. Like it's harsh. You have to be heartless. And I remember saying to one of the guys that I was around, I remember saying to him, I'm like, yo, bro, like, I don't think I have the heart to consciously contribute to somebody's demise like that. I remember one time one of the youths came with his son with him to pick up hard, my brother.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm seeing this guy, every time I see him, the demise is just, you can see the stages, it's getting worse and worse. And then I remember one of my other guys started selling to someone that we used to par with. Yeah. And I'm like, bro, how you selling to, I'm not going to say his name because people might know, how you selling to so-and-so? Like, that's man's people. And he was like, bro, at least you know what I'm giving him is not stepped on. You know, at least you know what I'm giving him is not going to kill him per se. You know what I mean? And if I don't do it, someone else is, and that person might not be so kind in terms of what they're giving. And I'm like, you know, this is when I realized I am not cut out for this life because I can't consciously do that. We used to roll with this person day to day. You understand? So I think, not trying to make you feel bad, but I mean, like, in the situation that I was in, maybe because of what we were dealing with and the kind of customers that it was, I just saw straight away, this is, I remember as well, but I shouldn't laugh, but I remember one of the guys I used to work, one of the guys I used to be with, he used to call it corruption. He goes, oh, my man's coming to pick up some corruption. That's what he used to call it. Yeah. And I'm just like, bro, you are consciously understanding that you're giving him something that's corrupting him and his life. But it is what it is. We go on a journey. And I think every journey is important. I think my journey was important because I think maybe I learned early that I'm not as heartless or ruthless as I need to be. And I think that kind of even maybe applies to my career now. Like, I think even in my industry, it's like you kind of have to be ruthless, kind of a bit of a bastard, to be honest, to kind of get to the real money. Whereas me, I've tried to help people. I've tried to be conscious of how it might be affecting people. And maybe that empathy has held me back from getting to the big bucks quicker. But I feel like every journey makes sense for an individual. And I feel like who I am as a person and what I've done sits well with me and my spirit and my faith. Speaking of journey,